Looks like 7:03. And so I am going to call this meeting to order. We'll start off with a roll call. So Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Palzer.
Here.
Commissioner Redmond.
Here.
Commissioner Broadnax.
Here.
And Commissioner Bryan, I am here. Commissioner Gill is absent today. So, and then moving on to approval of the agenda, is there a motion to approve the agenda as written?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then we have a motion. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from our August 15th meeting?
I'll move.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And one abstention, I wasn't there.
Okay, and Commissioner Miller has abstained because she was not present. All right, just continuing to move along. The next item is our unfinished business. So we are continuing on the discussion of the Xcel Energy wetland buffer waiver from last month.
Excellent. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. So tonight we are discussing the wetland buffer variance. Actually, it's a wetland buffer waiver for Xcel Energy at 1555 Century Avenue North. And this item was tabled from your meeting last month. So I do have an overhead for you, if we could turn to that momentarily. Thank you. So this is the site of Xcel Energy natural gas plant. It is located on Century Avenue, just north of the railroad track, south of Larpenteur Avenue, and also south of the city's Priory Preserve. Xcel Energy is requesting city approval of a conditional use permit, wetland buffer waiver, and a public vacation of an easement in order to construct improvements to its gas plant at 1555 Century Avenue North. The Environmental and Natural Resources Commission is being asked to review the wetland buffer waiver for wetland and tree impact mitigation strategies. The Environmental and Natural Resources Commission did review the wetland buffer and tree mitigation strategies during the August 15th meeting. However, the Commission tabled the item and requested additional detail on the mitigation strategies prior to making a recommendation. So you can see the site is surrounded by wetlands, as well as a wetland located within the site. First, I want to give the history of this site and the development. The facility was constructed in the 1950s, and this construction predated the city's current requirements that requires a conditional use permit for public and private utilities, which can be located in any zoning district. And that is why the expansion of this facility now is the reason the city is requiring the conditional use permit. Sorry, I'm kind of off track here, but the applicant will also be expanding the site's footprint by 30,000 square feet to the northeast in order to construct a new propane loading facility. This new area will include an 8-foot tall chain link fence running around the perimeter of the site, which will match the existing fence on the site. And there will also be expansion on the west side of the property for the construction of the detention pond. And you can see on that west side there is that manage a wetland. So that's really the impacts that we're reviewing here tonight. Here's a wetland buffer impact map, and Ramsey Washington Metro Watershed District has reviewed and approved the applicant's wetland delineation. Wetland 1, as you can see on the north side of the property, is identified as incidental or a man-made wetland with no wetland buffer requirements according to the city code. Wetland 2 is identified as a Manage B wetland, and City Code requires a 50-foot minimum and 75-foot average wetland buffer along this wetland. And then Wetland 3 is identified as a Manage A wetland with a 75-foot minimum and 100-foot average buffer. The applicant is requesting a waiver from the wetland buffer requirements for the expansion of the existing utility due to site constraints and new code requirements. And here you can see the grading that'll take place with that expansion and how that will come closer to the wetland. So the expansion will require the filling of the incidental wetland, which is allowed per code and the watershed district. So that'll be wetland 1, and that'll have the expanded facility on it. And grading to within 20 to 30 feet of the Manage A wetland, so wetland 3. The incidental wetland will be removed from the city's wetland map, and no wetland regulations will apply. And overall, this proposal requires a 70 to 80 foot wetland buffer waiver for encroachments to Manage A. And in the original review, we did discuss encroachments to the Manage B wetland. However, I have some new information on that I'll go over here briefly. So this is their revised plan. This is the tree plan. And this plan shows the removal of 82 trees during the construction of the project. City ordinance requires that the applicant either plant 82 2-caliber inch trees, 1 for 1 in this case, or pay into the city's tree fund at a rate of $70 per caliper inch that cannot be planted on site. And what they've done here, after we met from the August meeting to today, we sat down and discussed how we can make some improvements to those, how we can address those impacts to the trees and mitigate some of that. So during our original discussion, we pointed out that there were some large oaks adjacent Century Avenue and another larger tree that city staff had requested that they attempt to preserve. So they have addressed that, and they were able to shift the fence in that, you can see that green area. So that area is adjacent Century Avenue, and just to the north is the city's Priory Preserve. So they were able to shift the fencing towards the west and preserve 3 of those trees, 3 of those large trees, an 18-inch elm, a 22-inch oak, and a 27-inch oak. So that was something that we had requested, and they were able to accomplish. And then additional trees will be planted adjacent Century Avenue where there is space. Originally, you may recall that they were proposing no tree replacement at all. They just wanted to pay into the city's tree fund. Well, because of the shifting of the fence, there is some room in that area. And the revised plans, which will be on the next map here, shows 8 trees planted on the east side of the property. So that'll be add some screening adjacent Century Avenue. Review opportunities for adding trees to the top and west side of the detention pond berm adjacent the Manage A wetland. And this was requested to help screen the use from the residential properties that are located on the west side of the Manage A wetland. And so they took a look at that and were able to add 19 smaller trees and several bushes that is planted on the top and west side of the detention pond. Because of some concerns about large trees and the large roots maybe having some impacts on that berm, they went with the smaller ornamental trees. But nonetheless, they were able to add some on there. And then research opportunities for reuse of the wood from the trees, particularly the oak trees. And at the time I wrote this staff report, they had not addressed that. However, they submitted a revised plan with some notes on how they will work with a local milling company, in particular to find reuse for the hardwoods, the oak trees that'll be removed. And then they did mention that the other trees they would offer up to Xcel Energy employees for firewood. However, we had a comment from our natural resource coordinator, the moving of firewood and so forth. So we'll make sure that they're following all those requirements if that's the case, you know. But they are looking at opportunities to reuse that wood, which would be beneficial than just, you know, chipping it all up into wood chips. So that is how they address the tree impacts. Oh, let's see. Yes, okay, moving on. So this is the landscape plan they submitted with some detailed information on how they'll address the wetland buffer as well as the tree planting along Century Avenue. So as I indicated, the managed B wetland that's on the north side of that property, it was pointed out during our meeting that there's an existing gravel driveway on the north side of the property, and that driveway actually encroaches to within approximately 50 feet of that managed B wetland currently. So grading and construction of the detention pond, as you can see here, actually doesn't get any closer to the managed B wetland than that current impact. So with that said, it's kind of a pre-existing non-conforming type of use, and that additional kind of grading within there doesn't require an additional waiver. So we've removed that requirement, and we'd like to focus in on the manage A wetland and those impacts. So when we met with them, we discussed possibilities for addressing some plantings within the bottom of the pond. This, again, is a detention pond, and it's designed to capture any type of spill, natural gas spill. And the issue was, at the time that we met, it was uncertain, you know, how deep the soil would be there, because there is a membrane under that soil to ensure that the product doesn't infiltrate. So at that time, they thought perhaps there was a possibility to plant some plugs or seeds. But it has been determined that there will be no soil on that membrane at all. So there's no possibility of planting anything within that detention pond. The other item we pointed out was to plant the sides and top of the berm with native shrubs and trees and add a combination of native plugs and seed. So the revised plan, again, shows the 19 trees and 27 shrubs, and a combination of native plugs and seed will be added all along that berm on the top and west side. Remove all invasive buckthorn, honeysuckle, garlic mustard from the remaining Manage A wetland buffer within the Xcel Energy property, and treat those buckthorn stumps and leave in place to ensure no erosion, as well as review options for native seeding plugs or shrubs for new undergrowth plantings. And they were able to accomplish that. You see the area in blue. That is the remaining buffer along the edge of the Xcel Energy property up to the wetland edge itself. And in that area, there's quite extensive buckthorn and other non-native species. So Xcel Energy will remove all of those non-natives, and then they'll maintain that over a 3-year period with the maintenance agreement that we'll spell out here momentarily. And then there'll be some opportunity also for native plugs and seed in those areas. And they identify that in the plan. Add wetland buffer sign locations on the landscape plan. The plan that they had originally submitted had the signs every 150 feet, and our standard is 100 feet. So we'll look for that revised plan showing that those signs are installed appropriately. And then, of course, those signs have to be installed prior to any grading so that we're ensured that no one accidentally goes into that buffer and starts grading. And then the information about the 3-year maintenance of the wetland buffer invasive species. The City of Maplewood will hold an escrow to ensure that that maintenance is completed, because what we find is that it really does take about 3 years for, those to ensure that the buckthorn is not growing back, and that, you know, the invasive species, the plants and so forth, aren't taking over the native plants. So the City of Maplewood actually drafts that maintenance agreement, and then the applicants sign it, and then we retain that escrow until that 3 years is over. But they did also supply a note in their plans about the maintenance. Let's see, and then on the green portion, I kind of went over that already. That's where they'll be adding the trees and some shrubs in that area. And at the time of this staff report, our natural resource coordinator was out of the office and did not have an opportunity to review the revised plans, but she reviewed them today, and she finds that all of the tree species and so forth are appropriate, so she had no additional comments except for the firewood issue. And we had learned during our meeting last time from a neighbor that there's a possibility of sandhill crane nesting in the spring in that area. So our natural resource coordinator does indicate that sandhill cranes are protected migratory waterfowl, but they are not listed as endangered, threatened, or of special concern. Well, however, we would like to see revised plans indicating that construction activity should not disturb or destroy active sandhill crane nests and should be avoided from April through May. So that covers the changes that have been made since your last meeting to address the wetland and tree impacts. And I note that we have Xcel Energy representatives here tonight, as well as a neighbor from the project. So with that, I stand for questions. Thank you.
Real quick comment, staff. I do not believe that we've been recording, or have we? I don't see that.
We're getting a thumbs up. I'm assuming the light's broken. Oh.
Okay. Thank you very much. Sorry, that caught my attention. So, anyway, thank you again for the new information and the detailed plans. Are there any questions or comments from anyone here? Go ahead. Yeah, Commissioner Miller.
Sorry, I was gone last month, so I'm a little bit behind, just trying to fill in some blanks here. The retaining pond that has the membrane that does not have soil on top of it, what is that for? What would be spilling? And I guess my main question, no matter what it is has anyone looked into possibly having like the plants that actually neutralize toxins and stuff around it, is what my thought was. Because I didn't know what was natural gas spill. Is it what kind of things are in it?
Madam Chair, I think I'll hold off and have the applicant address that.
Okay, thank you.
Just a brief comment, and then I figure probably we'll let our visitors kind of address, bring up any questions that they've got as well. But huge difference from last month, where it was like, yeah, we'll make a plan for that, to some time to draw out what that plan should look like. Better diagrams for us to be able to picture the site and what the impacts are, or would be as we move forward with this plan. And, one area of concern that we had raised last time is, just some of the concerns were, yeah, we would consider that, or we would make allowance for that. And, it's just always better to have that drawn out, written out, so that there is a plan in place prior, so that things can go more smoothly. So feeling better about where we are and the level of detail that we have on the information in front of us this month. So just want to make a brief comment about that, and let others go ahead.
Sorry, I answered my own question. I'm looking at the thing. I just couldn't see it without my glasses on. Sorry, with all the different, the names of all the things that are going to be planted. So thank you.
Our visitors from Xcel Energy, do you have anything additional that you want to add on? Thank you.
Hi, this is Brian Sullivan from Xcel Energy. Thank you for having us here. I'm hopeful that you like our plants better. Sounds like at least one of you does. And to your point about the no soil on top of the membrane there, the pond serves two purposes. So one is if there's a leak from the propane tank, and if it comes out in a liquid form, it can go to that pond, and our people can get there quickly and extract it. If there's soil and plants in there, it makes it harder to do that. So it doesn't work. So, yeah. So with that, we've been working with staff here to get a plan, I think, which I had kind of envisioned before we came to this meeting, but we're here now to present it to you, and we're pretty comfortable with it. We've done projects like this in the past, and there was a comment about the nesting waterfowl, and we'll have our natural resource people. We'll have a consultant come out, and they'll sweep through the area to make sure there aren't any cranes within the area there, so we don't disturb them. And there's probably some distances, some setback distances between a nest and our work, and we'll work with them on making sure that we don't cause an issue that way. So with that, I'd leave it open to questions or comments, and we can go from there.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I was thinking, I know that keeps the product clean to not have anything on the membrane, and that was fine. Would that be from like breaking pipes, or how would that be?
Well, so the tank farm, what it is it acts as a reserve supply for the natural gas system.
Okay.
When the temperature's really cold in the wintertime. So get that January, February, we get that cold snap, and the existing gas system can't quite keep up with the furnaces and all that.
Okay.
So what they do is they'll inject this propane into the natural gas system, and that helps keep everybody's furnaces going. If there happens to be a leak from a propane tank, and what this does is we have designed the site to carry those leaks to the pond.
Sure.
And if there's a leak in the pond, there's a gate valve that shuts down so that it doesn't go into the wetland area accidentally, and then the crews can come and recover the material.
Okay, perfect. And then just one last question for me for now, because,
Yeah.
That's
fine.
Is there a way to protect that area of where the spills are from wildlife getting into it? I'm assuming there's maybe a gate or a fence or something, so like deer don't just go running in there or something?
I don't believe we have a fence around it, but you do bring up a really good point about.
They kind of find their way into, I'm dealing with that at my house right now, so,
Yeah. So
turtles or whatnot.
Yeah, there is not a fence planned right now. Our engineers, I believe, would have thought of that, and they would have, if they thought there was a concern or an issue, they would have put a fence around it to keep the wildlife out. Remember, it's 100% of the time, it's going to be a detention pond. It's that off, well, it's a chance that nobody's ever hopes ever happens is the reason why the membrane is in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a good idea. I was just thinking to keep your stuff pure,
Yeah.
to be able to recover it as well as to protect the wildlife. So that was just my thought. It used to be a job of mine.
Any other questions?
And just a comment and echo what Commissioner Paltzer indicated. I appreciate the refined information and the effort that was put into that, so thank you for doing that. It is very helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other representatives from Excel Energy or the community who would like to speak up on the revised plan?
Good evening. My name is Mary Newcomb. I live at 2600 Montana Avenue East in Maplewood. And actually, the thing about the wildlife, I had some questions, what the depth of the pond is, and if wildlife were be able to get in there, would they be able to get back out? Or is it whatever? And just I wanted to thank Xcel Energy for working with the city and taking the community into consideration on the revisions. And the question, Brian had mentioned to me outside the meeting that they would be able to save some of the trees along that west side of the detention pond. My question was, is this plan with the ornamental trees and the bushes in place of that, or will there still be able to be some of the trees preserved there? Thank you.
It's Brian again here. There are trees within that wetland buffer, between the wetland and the bottom of that embankment that are being saved. I think there's 17. I counted them. So, I counted them earlier today, and I may be off one or two, but it's like 17 are being saved right along that west edge there in that buffer area there. And then there's some stuff in there that needs to come out, the buckthorn and all that as well. But
I did have a question, at least for staff, on regarding one of the trees, since we are talking about trees, but one of the trees along Century Avenue you mentioned was believe it was an ash. Was it elm or ash?
Elm.
Okay, never mind.
Madam Chair, it does appear that there's no tree removal on that west side of the detention pond. But, there's probably some really large buckthorn that's creating some screening. And once that's removed, it'll be a little sparse. And then you might see the berm with the plantings.
When we left off, we decided to table this, but this proposal is going to be brought to the Planning Commission. And what was their resolution regarding the permitting?
The Planning Commission held a public hearing on August 16th, and they recommended approval of the conditional use permit and public vacation of this. There's an easement, an old easement that's in there. And so now, with your recommendation tonight, it will go to the City Council for final review on September 26th.
Thank you. So, are we ready to make a motion?
We do have a couple other attendees as well. Do we just open the floor if there are any other additional comments or?
Are there any? Okay. Oh, come on up.
My name is Kirsten Sursland, and I'm the Community Relations Manager for Xcel Energy, so that's why I'm here. I want to thank you for being expeditious about this. Winter's coming, and that's going to impact our construction plans, so I appreciate everything that you've done, given us the direction, and thank you for your kind words, and Commissioner Redmond for recognizing the work that went into bringing this back to you, because we did really put a lot of time and effort and care into it, so it's nice to be acknowledged. Thank you for having us tonight.
Sorry. I guess one of my questions, or my hopefully last question, is when the buckthorn is removed and all of that stuff, if there is, I just want to make sure that you guys are feeling welcome to come back and ask for advice or information of maybe how to fill it in, or if it's, not working out or things are, not staying the way that they're planned right now. Please feel free to come back because, we have quite a lot of knowledge up here. And I'm sorry I missed last meeting because I really would have loved to kind of delve into this a little bit deeper. But I really do see a lot of things on here that I'm really impressed with. So, but I would be one of those people that, can I sit there and document every wildlife thing that's there first, kind of person. But I used to build exclosures, so that's why I asked about all of that stuff. So just to know what kind of other wildlife is on the area. But besides that, thank you so much. And I just appreciate this is so well done and so complete, and this has very much answered a lot of my questions, so thank you.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Redmond, I believe you've got a additional question or comment?
I was just going to move to approve the wetland buffer waiver for Xcel Energy's gas plant improvements at 1555 Century Avenue North.
Okay. Any seconds to the motion?
Did you have a staff comment before?
I was just going to follow up to Commissioner Miller's comment.
Okay.
So I will. Just rest assured that in the maintenance agreement, we do ask for identification of the contractors that they'll be using to maintain the buffer. And, we look to ensure that they're, professionals in this area of wetland buffer management. So hopefully they won't have to come back here and ask you how to do it. I mean.
Well, out-of-the-box ideas, we're pretty good at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we just want to make sure they do it right,
Yes.
and they will. We'll have a maintenance agreement, and we'll ensure they have contractors. I just want rest assured.
Yes, good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So, we have a motion to approve the wetland buffer waiver. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any objections? Since not hearing none, motion passes. That was fun.
Gavel.
I know, I love the gavel. So, well, thank you very much to our representatives from Xcel Energy, and I also want to thank you to again, just extend my thanks for putting together this detailed plan. It looks wonderful, and I can't wait to see the changes within the site and all this new vegetation that's going to be coming in. So it'll be fun to observe and watch it.
And thank you to our
Yes, sir.
involved neighbor, too. It's
Yes.
good to see you back this month and appreciate kind of your perspective on this issue as we've gone along. So thank you for that.
And your care of the wildlife.
So, okay. So now just continuing on with our agenda, new business? Okay, I'm seeing no new business. Are there any additional visitor presentations this evening?
Anything else up your sleeve?
Did they say how deep it is?
The wetland management A?
No, the pond, the detention.
Madam Chair, our visitor would like to know how deep the detention pond is that
Yeah.
Xcel Energy is proposing. And I'll look into that and jot down your email for me, and I'll send you that information. Okay.
Sounds good. Okay, well then just continuing on to staff presentations.
Wow, that went quick. Okay. Well, first of all, I wanted to let you know about our last, we can't even see this. Look at this blurry thing here. All right. Don't look at that. I'm just going to tell you. So we've been hosting a couple public events at our Harvest Park Native Seed Garden, which is, of course, located in Harvest Park. We partner with Urban Roots. They have conservation youth interns, and they planted this garden with the native plantings it's been like 3 years now. And so this is the first year that we can actually harvest large amounts of seed from that. And so in our partnership agreement, we do call out that they'll, do some events with our residents. And this is the third one we've held where the youth interns are out there and their program coordinator, David Woods. And it's very interesting to go out there and listen to them, because if you have any interest in native plants, how to grow them, how to collect the seed, just come on out, because you will learn a lot. And also, you will be able to harvest your own little bag of native seeds that you can sprinkle in your own garden. So that is Tuesday, September 27th from 6 until 7 p.m. at the Harvest Park Native Seed Garden. And it's a free event, and you don't have to register, just stop on out. Okay, squint your eyes and look at that. This is from the Resilient Cities and Communities. They are hosting a city-county climate action conference, and our commission has been invited to these in the past. This one, there are two opportunities. One is, they're both on October 6th, which is a Thursday. One is in the afternoon from noon until 3, and the other is in the evening from 5:30 to 7:30. So I'm going to follow up and send you this invite, and if you're interested to RSVP, they do invite environmental type commissions, because there's a lot of different commissions. They call different names, like the Energy Commission, things like that at various cities. So they invite all the commissions and hope to share ideas. So it's a great opportunity. And then finally, if we could just get off of the screen, I think I'm done with that. Thank you. Because it's making us dizzy. All right, well, lastly, if we could discuss rescheduling the October meeting. And I must admit, it's for my benefit. So the meeting is October 17th, and the suggested dates are Tuesday, October 25th, or Wednesday, October 26th. So I'm out of town the 17th, and, you know, we always have to kind of, if we have to reschedule, plug in around other meetings. So why don't I just email, okay, and see what your thoughts are on rescheduling. And the items I plan to bring to that meeting, which are not time sensitive, but for your information, we are looking at I'm forgetting what it's called. But we have 3 watershed districts in Maplewood and 1 watershed district, Capital Region. The city of Maplewood is the actual local government unit. So we will be signing an agreement that makes them the LGU. And what that means, as an example, is if, as we saw tonight, Xcel Energy submitted that wetland delineation, the LGU has to approve the wetland delineation, and, you know, so we don't have wetland scientists on staff. So we really want just to turn that over to them. Nothing else would really change. And then we've, over the years, had some changes in our wetland maps. You know, when we have, like tonight, that incidental wetland, we can remove that from our wetland map. And we haven't updated that map since 2012. So we'll look at all those changes and recommend that for our city council. And then finally, I was going to bring you the final report for our climate action priorities and funding. And then hope to have that then go on to the city council in November. So look for an email on both the City-County Climate Action Conference as well as the rescheduling of that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, that brings us to the end of the page. So, is there a motion to adjourn our meeting?
I'll move to adjourn.
Okay. Is there a second?
Sure, I'll second.
That's second by Commissioner Redmond. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So we are ended at 7:42. 3.
Okay.
Oh, 7:42.